How many jobs are you missing every week because people can't find you online? Even the best trades business won't grow if your website and Google Business Profile aren't visible, optimized, and built to convert. I'm Barry, and I help UK trades businesses like yours appear at the top of search results and turn clicks into real jobs. This month, I'm giving away 10 free website and GBP audits. No charge, no catch, just the insights you need to start winning more local jobs. Book a free consultation now. calendly.com/siteace.
Hello and welcome to the show. We have such a show for you tonight. Welcome to WarrenThornton.com. Hello and welcome to WarrenThornton.com. Now we've got a world exclusive for you tonight. Nobody else, we believe, in the world has this story, and we will be revealing it after the first hour. If you want to, if you are a subscriber, and of course subscribers will get the chance to see it for 12 hours before anybody else does. We had to check with 3 different people. We had to get 3 different confirmations from sources to make sure that this story, which is so fantastic, that of course that it was true, because we couldn't believe it. And it is a very odd and very strange story, but it's not the first time it's happened, and it possibly won't be the last. But as I say, we will bring that to you at a later date. We will also have tonight for you lots of stuff, including what is going on with the absolute craziness to do with British ships, which are supposedly being attacked, which they're not. And of course, the idiotic peace deal, fake mobilizations, Nicki Minaj at the United Nations, would you believe? Mao Ning and Japan having a real problem. Callas von der Leyen infight. John Healey, of course, coming out with nonsense. Mercenaries that are leaving people to die and running away, as they have done. And of course, many of the other things that we've been saying have been happening. And many people have been going, no, it's not true. Well, it is. Well, the very first one we need to start out with is this nonsense that you're hearing. And we're going to have the British nonsense in a short while. We have a cunning plan, new plan, Mr. President. We'll have Paul Brooker along in the second hour. But we have got tons and tons to stay busy with. So let's get into what the main problem we have with this. There is a new so-called from Axios, a 28-point peace plan that is being sorted out by obviously the people, shall we say, in the White House. They want this. And of course, Politico and Axios are saying this, a peace deal as soon as this week. Well, what sort of peace deal have we got? Right. So let's get into this because, of course, you're going to be hearing this left, right and center. You're going to be hearing this over and over and over. It is a story that has been given by the Americans to Axios. They always do this. They give the story to Axios. The Trump administration is secretly working in consultation with Russia to draft a new plan to end the war in Ukraine. US and Russian officials tell Axios. I'm going to call Axios out here. First of all, the Trump administration is secretly working in consultation with Russia. Not true. To draft a new plan to end the war in Ukraine, US and Russian officials told Axios. Well, I'm calling Axios out here. Russian officials have told you no such thing, and you are completely lying through your teeth. How do we know this? Well, let's get into a couple of things, shall we say, that are very, very important when it comes to this. This is Dmitry Peskov, and as you know, we have a good friend who's very, very close to Dmitry Peskov. Let's have a listen to this.
Были обсуждения в Анкоридже, и вот в дополнение к тому, что обсуждалось в Анкоридже, пока никаких новаций.
Okay, so a very short statement from Dmitry Peskov, and of course Maria Zakharova is coming out and saying that there is nothing beyond what they've already discussed. And our friend, who is very, very close, as I say, to Dmitry Peskov, has said there has been no contact beyond what was discussed obviously in Alaska, and they are waiting for confirmation of that to come through. Now, Alexander Mercurios, who's very, very good at what he does, has turned around and said that Trump didn't get what he wanted from Zelensky, and this is the reason Zelensky is being thrown under the bus. Well, very, very simply, he is absolutely right. What happened was Trump couldn't get Zelensky to agree to what they wanted, and of course, this has caused a major problem. Now, the White House is pushing to finalize a framework deal with both Ukraine and Russia, but of course, they're now pushing Witkoff into this. And you may have noticed that 1 minute it's Witkoff, next minute it's Kellogg. It's carrot and stick, basically. They tried the bullying tactic, now they're trying the carrot. And of course, Politico are citing an administration source. So the White House is pushing to finalize this. The plan consists of 28 points discussed between US and Russian envoys Witkoff and Dmitriev, according to the source. Well, that's simply not the case, because the plans were not discussed between them. And according to the source, Washington intends to present the proposal to Zelensky as a fait accompli during the upcoming visit of the US Secretary to Kiev. And of course, when they're talking about the US Secretary, are they talking about Pete Hegseth, or are they talking about Marco Rubio? Highly likely to be Marco Rubio. Administration officials told the press they're on the verge of a major breakthrough. No, they are not. And that this is serious. One official said, what we're going to put to Ukraine is reasonable. Trump's administration believes Zelensky, weakened and under pressure, will have no choice but to accept the terms. He won't. As for Europe, we don't honestly care about the Europeans, the official says. What matters is that Ukraine signs. According to Politico, US officials see Ukraine as vulnerable, mired in corruption scandals surrounding Zelensky and stuck along stalled front lines, and believe this puts Kiev in a position where it can be forced to take a deal. They say it's reasonable and something that Ukraine can be made to accept. Well, it won't be reasonable if it means giving any territory over whatsoever. It simply will not happen because, of course, everybody else has a major problem with this. And of course, they're now saying that Witkoff will have something to do with this. Well, very much Witkoff has already been sidelined. And of course, the new peace deal, which according, and this is from Axios as well, doesn't take into account, if it doesn't take into account the new realities on the ground, the last 4 months is destined to be, shall we say, something that they want them to do. So let's get into this, because let's be honest here, it's destined to be another debacle. Basically, you may as well use the deal for toilet paper. So what should Russia's conditions be at this stage of the SMO? Well, people are saying that the AFU must withdraw from the part of Donbass that's still controlled. Same also applies to Zaporizhia and Kherson. The 4 regions, and obviously Crimea, will have to officially be recognized as Russian territory. Not going to happen. Kiev's accession to NATO and EU is permanently discarded. Not going to happen. Complete overhaul of current political arena in the new smaller Ukrainian state, with no extremist parties allowed to participate in the political life of the country. So how do you do that? That means you have to arrest every single neo-Nazi that is in the country. It's not going to happen. Neutrality must be sacred. We will have to be inscribed into the Constitution, so parties that don't accept it cannot participate in elections. So in other words, Azov battalions and various other parties, of course. Russia will retain the territories it seized in Kharkov and Dnipro regions, but will not request an AFU withdrawal from the areas in the regions it does not control. No new foreign military bases in the Ukraine state. This is the minimum that they are saying that the Kremlin should accept to declare victory, although a small one, not a complete one. Everything else will be considered as a Pyrrhic victory or defeat. So let's be absolutely honest here. That is what Russian commentators are saying, or shall we say, people who are on the side of Russia are saying that this new peace deal will contain. No, it won't. We have advance warning of what is in there. We are talking once again frozen conflicts. We are talking once again security guarantees with troops going in. So this is nonsense, the whole thing. And we are calling it out here. Axios, Politico, anybody else who is involved, you are talking utter rubbish and nonsense. There is no way that anybody is having a bar of any peace deal, this so-called 28 point peace plan that the Americans are supposedly, and they are going to put this forward because very, very simply, they've turned around to, how can I put it? When they give it to Axios, that means that somebody in the State Department is feeding them. Now, this has to come from Rubio's office, probably through Tammy Bruce or a minion who's then got hold of Axios and said, look, we're going to be doing this. And they're highlighting what is going on. Once again, it is not going to be acceptable. The Ukrainians are not going to accept it. They might turn around and say that they do, but there's no way on earth that they will accept this peace plan whatsoever. Now, the Americans will turn around and say, oh, it's corruption, we'll remove Zelensky and everything else. Who do you then put in charge? The country is literally run by neo-Nazis. And at not one point, this is the only point where they've actually said extreme factions. Well, by extreme factions, they mean the neo-Nazis who are in control of the country. So they have to be completely removed from the entire government. Is that going to happen? I don't think so. Let's put it this way. We can't see this happening in a million years. So if you are hearing this and you are hearing about this peace deal, take absolutely no notice of this whatsoever. This is complete and utter bunkum. And of course, you're going to hear so much more about this. I am sure there are plenty of people who would like to have their say on this, but I'm telling you straight, this nonsense, we have spoken to our guy who was close to Peskov, and he has turned around and said that the three items still remain. No Ukrainian NATO, demilitarization, and denazification. Sean Murphy.
Well, Warren, it'll be the same old story. Zelensky and his motley crew will say, no, we're not agreeing to any of that. And they will then blame the Russians. Oh, we didn't get anywhere because the Russians wouldn't accept any of the new 28 point peace plan. And it will be the same old story. And we know what the story is, and we know what the truth is. And the Russians have set their goals. They've never changed their objectives.
No.
Everybody's well aware and quite clear about their objectives, and they've just not changed them, and they're not going to. So they will. The US and every other man and his dog, especially in Europe, will try blaming the Russians, whereas the Russians actually they're not the ones bringing out the 28 point peace plan.
Yeah, it is quite staggering, isn't it? And of course, you're absolutely right there, Sean. When we're talking about the peace plan here, we are looking at the stupidity beyond belief. Now, the reason they won't certainly Azov won't accept it, and the people, shall we say, the neo-Nazis, will not accept it is very simply because I would say the oddest thing that we can possibly say on this is that their graveyards, their cemeteries are so full of people that are dead, that have gone to fight the Russians, that they're just simply not going to accept it on behalf of the people. And of course, this is a cemetery in the north, in Lvov, just outside of Lvov, and this is full to brimming with neo-Nazis. This cemetery is literally held back for people who fought for Azov. And as you can see, they've got about 15 or 20 spaces left, but you cannot have your person buried there unless they are literally a member of that group. So we're just letting you know this up front, because the amount of nonsense that's being talked about is quite unbelievable. Now, we've got even more nonsense for you. Let's get into some more of this nonsense. You may well be seeing over the next 24 hours a little video like this.
Пидорасы ебаные, сбили мужик на велосипеде ехал, они его въебали, ребенка он въебали, сбили нахуй, пидорасы ебаные. Чувак, походу, все мертвый. Что ты там, что ты скручиваешь там, Антон? Да хватит снимать!
Now this is a completely faked up video, and the reason is to turn around and say, look, this is a fake video. The Russians are making these, and they're doing it to try and convince you that we are beating up our own people and mobilizing them. Now, they're either going to spin it one or two ways. They're either going to spin it that that's Russians mobilizing people, or this is a Russian mock-up fake, but it was actually filmed by Ukrainians. So just giving you a heads up. Here's a real abduction for you by the Ukrainians, so you can see exactly what takes place when this happens. That's a real Ukrainian abduction. And of course, you've seen absolutely tons and tons of them. Well, why do they need to abduct people? Well, very simply because it's going absolutely terrible on the battlefield. And we've got some of that for you in a little while. And of course, many people will turn around and go, it can't possibly be the case, can it? It can. This is a Fab. If you saw the early morning show, you would have seen a Fab 3000 in Minorad. Now, Minorad is the encircled area just to the east of Pokrovsk. Let's have a look. "17 more dead soldiers in one go there. Absolutely crazy. And of course, all we're going to get time after time after time is the fact that Ukraine are doing perfectly fine on the battlefield, and they're absolutely not. They are being destroyed in great numbers. And of course, we're just going to get more and more nonsense. By the way, just to let you know, on the frozen assets saga, of course, they are looking to steal Russia's frozen assets, and they're looking to use those on the battlefield. Well, Friedrich Merz has been in it again. And of course, he is, shall we say, pretty awful when it comes to this sort of thing. Friedrich Merz, of course, has been speaking out. He's been once again standing up and telling everybody how fantastic Germany are going to do, how they're going to support Ukraine left, right, and centre, and that they should do the following. We don't want to confiscate frozen Russian assets. We want to use them as collateral for a loan that could provide Ukraine with enough weapons for a long time, said Chancellor Merz. We don't want to steal frozen assets. We just want to take them without permission, give them to a corrupt parasite who will distribute them among his own pockets. Well done, Friedrich. That's a blinding idea, highly applauded, and the sort of idiotic idea that these people will come up with. There is some other stupidity that we need to address as well, and you are going to go, honestly, is this true? You will have heard, or should have heard by now, that there are Russian ships out in the middle of nowhere, or rather patrolling in the North Sea. Is this true? Well, shall we have a little look? It's not Russian ships, is it? They're saying that it's Russian ships. It's not. It's British ships that are supposedly being attacked by the Russians. And John Healey has actually come out and said that this is happening. Have a listen to this. This is quite crazy. And of course, dear old John is the Defence Minister of the UK. Let's have a listen to the nonsense he's got to put forward.
As I speak, a Russian spy ship, the Yantar, is on the edge of UK waters north of Scotland, having entered the UK's wider waters over the last few weeks. This is a vessel designed for gathering intelligence and mapping our undersea cables. We deployed a Royal Navy frigate and RAF P-8 planes to monitor and track this vessel's every move, during which the Yantar directed lasers at our pilots. That Russian action is deeply dangerous. And this is the second time this year that this ship, the Yantar, has deployed to UK waters. So my message to Russia and to Putin is this. We see you, we know what you're doing, and if the Yantar travels south this week, we are ready.
Wow. Thanks, John. Let's get into the honest thing then. So, literally, this is according to the Daily Mail. It's a story being run in the Daily Mail about the Yantar, or shall we say this Russian ship, literally going there and, of course, sailing into British waters because it wants to start a war in British waters. But what it really was there somebody reported something as a Russian ship, and it turned out not to be. It turned out to be a British ship, and the Yantar was a long way off. So let's get into the truth of this then. Now, the vessel apparently was spotted on the borders of the United Kingdom's territorial waters. No, it's not. It's in international waters, and it is up in the north, not off the north coast of Scotland. It's 800 miles away from the north coast of Scotland, and allegedly located there for the past few weeks. According to the Defence Minister, of course, the crew of the Russian ship directed lasers at Royal Air Force pilots conducting surveillance in the region. We've sent a Royal Navy frigate and an RAF P-8 aircraft, or actually American P-8s, to monitor and track the vessel's every move, during which the Yantar directed lasers at our pilots. Healey stated that he had changed the rules of conduct for the British Navy, allowing for closer surveillance of the Russian vessel. Yeah, you were targeted by a laser for the simple fact that you buzzed the ship. Healey stated that he changed the rules, as he was saying, and according to London, such actions pose a threat to national security and require increased monitoring and readiness for response. The Russian research vessel, Yantar, is carrying out the planned tasks in the world ocean. As it does, the vessel is conducting scientific research in various areas, including off the coast of the Irish and Mediterranean Sea, again in international water. And once again, it looks like the action from Star Wars, that Britain are frightened that Russia would easily shoot the Death Star and destroy the country. This is a scientific vessel. It is an oceanographic research vessel. And of course, Britain are doing their very best to try yet another false flag, as if they haven't tried enough false flags. So just giving you an idea of exactly the nonsense that is coming out. It was not buzzed. Was it targeted by a laser? Yes, it was, because it actually buzzed the ship. But then again, if it hadn't been buzzing the ship in international waters, it would never have happened. And of course, what happened? Did the British open fire on it? No, they skedaddled away. Once, of course, shall we say, that they got the response that they got. And of course, many people are turning around and going, can't be right, can it? Can. And it is right. Now, if you really wanted a problem with Russian vessels in waters that maybe you think shouldn't be there, well, then the Black Sea would be your place to be. The Russians deployed a submarine in the Black Sea because, of course, there are lots of drones flying around and everything else, waterborne drones that are being put forward by the French, the British and everybody else to cause all sorts of disturbances in the Black Sea area and have a go at the Russian fleet. Well, the Russians had enough of this, so they sent what is only a small submarine. It is called the Varoshanka, and it has been deployed to the Baltic Sea. And last night, it fired some rockets at Lvov, and of course, Lvov was very, very badly hit last night. Here's Lvov. Now, this was a warehouse that we, according to Ukrainian and Russian sources, is burning very well because it was storing all sorts of nasty explosives in there, including some, shall we say, phosphorus that it's very, very dubious whether it should be used. People do use it, sides do use it in a war, but there was some phosphorus actually in there. So, of course, that burned rather well. And, of course, they took a long, long time to put the blaze out. Let's have a little look at this. Have a little look at this if we can, a bit closer up. Here's Lvov burning well. And the resultant explosions from this, of course, set all sorts. We were spying on a ship in international waters, Andrew. You're absolutely right. Somebody else wants to have a word here. Somebody just popped their hand up. Lee Williams.
A quick one. So from the West, it's America's, it's Russia's fault, but it's a lie. It's nothing to do with Russians. It's to do with the actual West, in my opinion.
Let's put it this way. The Russians didn't do anything except sail in international waters. And they decided that it would be a really good idea. Now, if we wanted to talk about people who are doing all sorts of naughty and wrong things, we could have a chat about this. Because let's just say you would think this is naughty. Can you tell me, or anybody would like to tell me, especially from the UK, what off the island of Hainan, off of the coast of China, of course, that a British, shall we say, a British plane was flying around over the top of that? Now, that would be interfering, wouldn't it? That would be called it being a wind-up merchant. A British Typhoon actually made a flight within 80 miles of that island. What is a British Typhoon doing mucking about in Chinese waters? You do have to ask that question, I'm afraid. And of course, we're not going to get a straight answer from this. But of course, it is a question that needs answering. What is a British Typhoon doing mucking about over their coast? Sean Murphy.
Spying, perhaps, Warren? Or was he just lost?
It did get a light shined on it, and then it decided to leg it. So once again, and of course, this isn't the first time it's happened. While we're at it, nobody's talking, absolutely nobody is talking about the ATACMS missiles that were fired into Russia and were shot down, 6 of them. And just in case anybody thinks it might be untrue, here you go. Here's part of the wreckage of one of them. So you can have a look for yourself there. And of course, as I say, you're going to get lots and lots of this. It's going to happen over and over. Once again, they launched six ATACMS. The whole idea was to cause damage on the Russians' infrastructure. And of course, that didn't work out too well. So they've had to rethink that. There are some other things they're going to have to rethink as well, because it's not going very well at all when it comes to, shall we say, the attacks. Is the use of mercenary soldiers. Now, if you saw the earlier show, the morning show, you would have seen this. But every single mercenary that you see out there on social media is, and we're going to say it here, has abandoned his so-called Ukrainian colleagues to run back home because the fighting got too tough. Unfortunately for the Ukrainians, they can't do that. They can't skedaddle home when the going gets tough. However, shall we say the Dutch, the British, all these people who end up online who have been fighting there, they're quite happy to sit and cheer everybody on and say we should carry on and everything else. But when it comes to staying out there when the going gets tough, they ran back home. Let's have a look at some of the Dutch mercs here.
Wij liepen op een gegeven moment dan naar positie toe. Onder een hemel gevuld met drones. Hè. Elke 5 minuten komt er een drone overvliegen. Moet je de bosjes weer in. Er staan fiber optic drones, glasvezeldrones op de weg op je te wachten. Het is gewoon knettergevaarlijk.
Dus als je gespot werd, kreeg je altijd artillerie op je dak en drones. Dus die zaten eigenlijk op die wegen te jagen. Het voordeel wel als je loopt, dat je dus hoort aankomen. Dus je kan wel snel een treelane induiken bijvoorbeeld. Maar het is geen pretje als je daar ligt en je hoort ze over je heen vliegen. En wij weten als drone operators hoe het is en hoe makkelijk het kan zijn. Je wordt gewoon letterlijk opgejaagd.
En het is 1 aanvoersroute. Dus je hoeft geen generaal te zijn om te begrijpen dat de Russen goed in de gaten houden wat er allemaal gebeurt over deze supply route. De laatste die je dan hebt, jullie spotten. En dan is het gewoon een orkest van geweld.
Deze zomer zien ze hoe de Russische drones de lucht boven de stad domineren. De drones worden nu gevlogen door piloten van een nieuw gevormde elite-eenheid van het Russische leger.
Dat was Rubicon. En Rubicon is een soort van nieuw initiatief, een nieuwe groep van ontzettend professionele drone operators vanuit de Russische kant. Die hebben hele goede drones over het algemeen, wel goed materiaal. Ze zijn ontzettend goed gecoördineerd. Zij konden met 4 drones tegelijkertijd, binnen een minuut konden ze 1 voertuig raken. En dat is iets dat wij wellicht ook deden, maar bij ons verliep dat een stuk chaotischer.
Well, who'd have known that? Who'd have known that it's dangerous in a war zone? Who'd have known that it's not much fun in a war zone? Thanks for telling us. Quite staggering how these people try and, should we say, talk about all sorts of nonsense here, where of course they decide that they're not going to do anything, shall we say, to help their fellow colleagues when the going gets tough. We showed you, shall we say, Ukraine doing all sorts of silly stuff when it comes to mobilization. Well, that's not the only propaganda thing they've been up to. They actually had a house that was being used to house, and they were hiding in an apartment block, lots of their soldiers, and of course, shall we say, trying to hide their weapons away to make sure it didn't look that bad. Now, the Russians did bomb this area, no question whatsoever. They sent a couple of Garand drones, and of course, let's have a little look and see what happened. Now, did anybody notice? I'm going to give you 30 seconds. If somebody can tell me what is wrong with that video. Does anybody have an idea? Sean Murphy.
Well, I could see a 66 hanging on the wall there, Warren.
There we go. Well done, Sean. I know that someone eagle eyed will always spot it. There we go. There is a bazooka on the wall, hanging on the wall, or I should say a rocket. A handheld rocket launcher. Just happen to have one laying about the apartment, Sean. As you do.
Just hanging on the wall, as you would.
Yes, just hanging on the wall, just waiting to get going. It is quite incredible. And of course, they're claiming that's an attack on the civilian area. I don't know how many civilians you know who have those things there, but there we go. Let's just turn around and say that it is something that seems a bit strange. By the way,
I haven't got one, but I really would like one.
Yes, I mean, I think we can all have one, can't we? I don't see any reason why not. Let's get into this. The energy minister is not the only one, along with Rustem Umerov of Ukraine. The energy minister of Ukraine has also fled the country. Seems to be a regular pattern, doesn't it? I wonder why she has left the country with no real explanation. She thinks, obviously, that they're going to be targeted. Everybody's saying that Rustem Umerov is going back to Ukraine tomorrow. I'm wondering if he is. What have we got here now? We don't know whether we haven't had a chance to verify this. This could be a complete load of nonsense. But here we go. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Rustam Umarov, Krenovich, and of course he's looking white European, Muslim, present nationality Ukrainian. It could be a load of rubbish. Could be an absolute nonsense story. But it's sort of a bit of fun to put it up there. And if it does happen to be true, and he is seeking asylum, then of course that will be one of the funniest stories going. And of course, we all know there is one story about Rustam Umarov that we know for certain because we've shown the video. And of course, that video has been wiped from the internet. But if you go back in our back catalogue of literally showing you stuff on these programs, and we do have a back catalogue of all these shows, you will find somewhere back there in the far distance Rustam Umarov completely naked, pleasuring himself online to various ladies. Of course, that's his big sort of thing that he likes to do. You can do whatever you like in your spare time, but there we are. Something else that's not going to be too good. We told you earlier on this morning about the fact that America and that we warned about this months ago, that they were going to start sending you, when they started running out of Ukrainian bodies, they were going to send Ukrainians back to die. And literally there you can see the first of the US handing over Ukrainians to the TCC, who have come to collect him on the border of Ukraine. So when we told you this story, that this would start happening, and we told you this morning that this was happening, that is just to give you a big heads up that this guy has now been handed over to the TCC. Now they're doing this to another 50 people. So they're saying there's 50 people. There's actually 51 that are going back, and they're saying for criminal reasons or whatever, but some of them are going back for non-criminal reasons. But Germany and many of the others, if we have told you, are going to follow suit. When they start running out of bodies, the people who have fled the war, they'll start picking them up and throwing them back on the front line. Lee Williams.
Is this anything to do with support of Ukraine, or is this to do with depopulation of the 2 million plus?
Well, we've got 2 million that are dead, and of course we've got more and more problems coming out. There's no problem as far as they're concerned with throwing more and more Ukrainians, or sending them back, or throwing them under the bus to die. Simple as that. They're not going to stop. And you're absolutely right to look at it that way and think, whoa, this is not looking good. And you'd be absolutely right. It is not looking good at all. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Now, there is a very good chap called The Islander who has said his piece about the DC. And if you get a chance to follow him, he's called The Islander, by the way. And he's written a piece. So now Washington, D.C. wants peace. After funding a neocon slaughterhouse for 3 years, laundering $400 billion through Ukraine's corpse, is Trump's agreement capable? It's the neocons swarming around him who sabotaged every past peace deal. It's now time for the 28-point peace plan, not because reality is sunk in, but because Russia have won. Now, according to Axios, and he's citing Axios as well, the US and the Russians are quietly sculpting a deal. 4 pillars: ceasefire, security guarantees, European architecture, and future relations. Sounds serious, but let's call it straight. This isn't some grand statements moment. It's panic dressed as diplomacy. The battlefield dictated this, not diplomacy. Pokrovsk has de facto fallen. Zaporizhia's lines are collapsing. Ditto for Kharkiv. Desertions are 4 times higher than last year. Ukraine's budget is so broken it needs 140 billion fantasy loan secured on frozen Russian assets. And those assets unconfiscated, because Europe knows if they cross that Rubicon, investor capital runs, saying bye-bye to what remains of the post-war financial order. So enter Steve Witkoff, who reportedly met Kirill Dmitriev in Miami to breathe life into a deal rooted in the Trump-Putin talks in Alaska. Dmitriev apparently was blunt. Moscow enters from a stronger position. That's an understatement. Ukraine is bleeding out. NATO is burning through stockpiles. Washington is looking for an op-ramp that doesn't smell like capitulation, the capitulation that it is. And the idea is to float peace now before the full collapse becomes undeniable. But the choreography is is obvious, sorry. Choreography, I do apologize, mumbled there, is obvious. Zelensky hasn't even seen the final plan yet because the White House was too busy briefing Axios, its EU lapdogs, testing which way the wind is blowing in London and Berlin before floating it out there. The question isn't whether they want peace, it's whether they can sell defeat without completely owning it, an almost impossible defeat. And even if the plan exists, even if Trump means well, do the Russians trust a word of it? The Kremlin remembers Minsk, it remembers Istanbul, it remembers how every red line became a green light for escalation. And that's why Russian doctrine calls the West what it is, non-agreement capable. So call it whatever you like. Peace plan, framework, 28-point roadmap, not a treaty. It's not a white flag, carefully folded, quietly floated and dressed up for Axios like it was a masterstroke of statecraft. Because the truth is, there's no victory to be found for that empire, just wreckage to manage. And the empire is still trying to exit the funeral it paid for without looking guilty. And I think that's a wonderful piece of work. And I applaud the gentleman, whoever is the islander, because there he's got pretty much everything spot on. Talking of spot on, Siversk has now been entered. As you can see, the green areas, the Russians are now in there and they're starting to push very much along the railway line. As you can see in the middle there, they're starting to push along that railway line very much so. My latest intel is they've reached this area about here. Siversk is going to fall. It will be once again one of those places that's surrounded on all sides, and they leave one corridor open just for you to go along, as you've heard from obviously those people. And of course, we've got somebody who people very unkindly call him Julian Jihad, but Julian Ropka, who is hugely, he's a massive, massive fan of Ukraine. He is their biggest cheerleader and warmonger. Russian invasion broke through the strongest and longest holding Ukrainian front line in Donetsk Oblast, capturing the villages of Vimka and Ivan Dorivka before entering Siversk town from the south, already capturing 20% of it. For those 9 kilometers, they needed 40 months. No, they didn't, Julian. They got there and then they stopped. And when they were ready to enter, which was only in the last couple of weeks, did they then attack? They have been sitting on that border for ages, not moving anywhere. So once again, Julian trying to sell a defeat as something that took the Russians a long time, cost them tons of people, and it's not an important place anyway. The same old playbook. Lee Williams.
Just a quick one. I mean, I personally don't watch the BBC because I don't trust them. But is there any news on Ukraine at all in the past couple of years, or is it kind of under, let's say, quietened down?
Well, it's going to go quiet because there is nothing but defeat for Russia in the for Ukraine in these areas. It is absolute nonsense when anybody's talking about this. Because take, for instance, Pokrovsk. Okay, so we've blown this right up for you. That is a 100-yard corridor that all of them are trying to escape through and getting blown to hell. Okay, and I've said this time and time again. The Russians leave you a little corridor, only a little corridor that you can bring men in, or you can take men out, or try and get out. And that is when they line the whole road, the whole area with drones, and they just pick you off. And I have shown you time and time again, but I've got one more example for you to show you exactly what happens when they do this. This is Ukraine trying to get out. There you go. Across open fields lined with drones. You're never going to make it. They'd be far better off surrendering. We don't take any pleasure in seeing that happen. And of course, we're behind this. We're turning around and saying that this is okay. We should keep going. We should keep throwing these guys under a bus. It is completely and utterly unacceptable. Something else that is needs to be spoken about are these two. Around, we've told you about this before, but it's getting worse. A row has broken out between Kaya Kallis and, shall we say, Ursula von der Leyen, and they are not getting on at all. In fact, there are many, shall we say, people saying that they have almost reached the point where they cannot bear being anywhere near each other, let alone, shall we say, talking to each other in any way, shape, or serious form. And of course, as we both know, they are very intransigent, very horrible human beings, and nobody really wants to be anywhere near them if they can possibly help it. But of course, we're just going to get more and more of this as the EU starts to fall apart. Sean Murphy.
Well, you can see that the EU is falling apart because they're now turning on each other.
As they're going to do. Yeah, it's not going to stop, is it?
And they're not going to be the only ones.
No, I think you're right here, Sean, because I mean we're already getting, we've got Orban who's already turned around and said, look, we're not gonna let this carry on. We can't do anything here. And you have to remember that it's that bad. It's only going to get worse. There we go. Let's. Where are we? Lee Williams.
Quick one. Is it a case of what we'd describe as dominoes? They're going to fall of the West.
Yeah, they're going to go down as they get hauled down by this Ukraine war. They're just going to It's going to be more and more problems. You look right now. They're throwing people back out of the US, back through Poland, onto the front line. How long is that going to go on for before other people wake up to that and go, "Oh my God, can you see what they're doing?" And of course, they're going to call out the EU for it, because the EU are going to have to start doing that. No question that the EU are going to have to start repatriating Ukrainians. How long is it going to be before people go, "Hang on, look what the EU are doing to Ukrainian citizens? They were meant to be protecting them, and now they're not. They're throwing them under the bus." And how much longer can it go on where they're talking the nonsense that they're talking? And they are talking some utter nonsense. Orban's hit out. We'll have a word from him in a moment. But take this. This is Jürgen the German. I mean, he wants it like you wouldn't believe. Have a read of that. Absolutely incredible. Half Christmas trees have started being sold in Russia for 7,000 to 16,000 ruble. Russia is completely collapsing. This is from a guy called Jürgen Nordit. And he's meant to be a bigwig in Germany. This is the nonsense they are still coming out with, trying to sell you this war. Here's some more nonsense for you that you won't believe. Angelina Jolie, because she got her driver off the hook, okay, she stopped him from going to the front line. She's been put on the Mirotovets kill list, the Ukrainian kill list. Angelina Jolie, for daring to save her driver from being put on the front line. This is the sort of lunatics we're dealing with. Lee Williams.
I was just going to say, if anybody wants, it's impossible to call it a Christmas tree, but if anybody wants an evergreen tree, just go to Tesco's, because it's called an evergreen tree now. Just for let people know.
Yeah, the sort of woke nonsense we would get. And of course, you're going to see that more and more and more, aren't you? And that's a problem. Sean Murphy.
Well, that photograph of that Christmas tree, Warren, not only was it half a Christmas tree,
I know
it wouldn't stand up because it only had half a stand.
I know, awful, isn't it? But this is what you're going to get.
Talk about photoshopping it or chopping it or cut and paste it, you know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And
it had been well cropped.
This isn't something that's going to stop, buddy. This isn't something that's going to stop. Let's have a look at this. This is all bang. Very simply here, as you can see, you see this. Here we go. What exactly does this mean? Of course, the president of the commission is asking for nothing less than an additional 135 billion over 2 years. This is 65% of Hungary's annual economic output, 7 years of pensions from all Hungarian pensioners, and nearly 3/4 of the EU's annual budget. An astronomical sum that does not exist today. It simply does not exist. The Brazilian magic trick would once again be a joint European loan, a move that would ensure even our grandchildren, even more than that, your great-grandchildren, would be burdened with repaying the costs of the Russian-Ukrainian war. They're asking us, Hungarians, to contribute to this. A country that's fined 1 million euros a day because we do not let migrants in. A country that's financially punished because it has its own position on the war and on gender ideology. This is more than impossible. This is categorically absurd. Hungary's response will come without delay. And as you can guess, it was a very, very quick response and a very short one. You can go get stuffed, basically, was their response to this. And of course, no one can blame Orban. He does seem to be the only person at the moment in Europe who has got his finger on the pulse or has half a bit of common sense. So let's have a little look at the map of the war situation at the moment. As you can see, it just gets worse in the Pokrovsk area. As you can see here, you've got that corridor. And of course, bit by bit, Minorad is becoming in circles, being bombed, and they've got nowhere to go. There's over 900 people in there. There's another 150 in this pocket here being absolutely pummeled. And of course, they're trying to keep this corridor open to escape to Harishna. But of course, along this E50 road, there are tons of drones. The road into Harishna is now cut off, and most of the Azov battalion have fled back to areas such as Lyman over here and up to Zelen over here, where they're trying to make new fortifications and new foundations. Because, of course, there is all sorts of problems now arising as Ukraine starts to become less and less, as you can see here. That is literally the area that is left. They are in terrible, terrible trouble. Then we have Konstantinika. Let's shorten this a bit. And of course, Lyman, where there are more moves now. Siversk, which is over here, we've shown you. There's a battle for Siversk going on at the moment. And once that battle for Siversk is taken, then there's going to be quite a long battle. Now, Kramatorsk, not so bad. Now, that's the bigger place. It's bigger than Sloviansk. But Sloviansk, of course, is going to be more difficult to take because of the terrain. So once they would like to get Siversk tucked away and then move across from this way through the national park, if they can, to tackle Sloviansk from this direction rather than try and hit it head on in this direction. That would not be good. So this is going to take a while to encircle this. But that's what they're going to go for. They're going to travel along this line of areas here, this line of villages and towns here, and then they're just going to cut straight across the top there, where once they get past here, by the way, there are very, very few trench lines that are left that the Ukrainians can use. So they'll just pile across there. So what's going on in other areas? Well, Zaporizhia, once again, the Russians are making all sorts of moves here. Of course, and once again, as I say, bit by bit, they are moving into here. This is not the same Pokrovsk, obviously. We'll call this Pokrovsk. And the whole idea then is to punch for Dnipro, for the Dnipro River, to then be able to make an assault on Zaporizhia. And of course, if you go further up from Zaporizhia, then you get to Dnipro. Once, of course, Pokrovsk is in their hands, they can push along this main road to Pavlorad, which is already being bombarded, already being hit. So this is why the Americans are desperate for this peace plan, because the lid is off the bottle and they can't get the genie back in the bottle. And if we come down here to Kherson, as you can see, they have made a crossing and they are in this area here, which is to the left of Kherson. Now, the Russians are contesting this area here. And of course, they have landed on this island here. And of course, they are dug in. There's a battle raging right there at the moment for control of that area, because they know, or they should know, that they need to push them out. If they don't push them out, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Lee Williams.
I was going to say, how long has that part of Russia been called Ukraine? Because I personally wouldn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we look along here, this here, of course, as you can see, is Kupiansk. And there is very little left now for them to capture. Kupiansk will very shortly be announced. It is a race between which is going to be announced first. The fall of Kupiansk, which again is a major hub for the Ukrainians, and of course, whether or not Pokrovsk is going to be called. But once they have this, then they can strike out along this road. There was a major feed center. These two areas, of course, major feed centers. And once they can capture these, get hold of this area around here, that's where they'll be looking to get next. And then they'll either push down or push on to Kharkiv. There's a natural barrier here, as they say. But once they get all this into their hands, then, of course, Kharkiv lays open. And that, of course, is Ukraine's biggest city. But, of course, it won't be strategically important now, will it? Because they won't allow you to say that it is. Now, we need to tell you about our exclusive that nobody else has. And we're absolutely certain that nobody else has it. But, of course, to do that, we need to be able to show you a video that can't be seen. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say goodbye to the people who are just watching, who are not subscribers. If you like what we do here and you want to see the sort of things we're about to show you, do come across to warrenthornton.com and come onto, just type in Patreon and then come across, type in Warren Thornton. And then, of course, you can come and join the show, even have your say. There's a subscriber show and everything. But thank you for watching.